I'm going to start by asking if God ever sang to you. I ask that because he sang to me once. Not because I'm so special, but because he had a job for me to do. To convince me to take the job, he sang to me over and over and over again, to the point of being quite annoying. Let me explain. Several years back, I received a very strange email from a stranger in the diocese asking, "Who will go for me? Whom shall I send?" And it asked if I would be interested in going on a mission trip to Nairobi, Kenya with a group called Living Water International, a nonprofit that goes into third world communities to dig water wells and provide clean water, while at the same time supplying the gospel of living water, Christ himself. I laughed out loud at the thought of me as a missioner. So I immediately dismissed the idea of going so far from home with strangers from all over the United States, people totally unknown to me, to go see and live among people that I didn't know, and to evangelize while I was there. I'm no good at holding conversations with strangers. And there was that E word. I don't even talk to my family members about my faith. Why would I go halfway around the world to talk to strangers about it? Religion was a very private thing to me, something between God and me. And I was comfortable with things that way. But I would soon be shoved out of my comfort zone. The trip through the decision-making process was far more difficult than the 21-hour flight to get to Nairobi. It involved much wrangling with myself and with God. I expected my family to throw a fit. They didn't. I expected to ignore that invitation to go. I couldn't. I expected my relationship with God to stay the same. It wouldn't. I ran through indecisiveness, frustration, disappointment, anger, because I was being compelled to go when I did not want to go. And God was not accepting no as an answer. I cried a lot. I wiggled and waffled and wavered. And each time I thought, nope, I am not going, a song would enter my head and it would loop over and over and over. A blasted earworm. It was the hymn, "The King of Love My Shepherd Is." And it was the verse about the streams of living waters flow. My ransomed soul he leadeth. And it would play in my head over and over and over. I went through at least 50 reasons not to go. There were too many things that could go wrong. After all, Africa was known for its snakes and its poison dart tree frogs. And let's not forget the lions. Kenya, I just knew, would have icky food that I would not like. There would be filth and disease and pure, raw poverty everywhere, with nothing to soften it. Getting there and being there were both dangerous enterprises. Terrorists commandeering the overseas flight could not be discounted at that time. The thought of going on this trip opened up my entire little toy chest of horrors. I was afraid. Plus, I have grown into a creature of comfort who has worked very hard over the years to overcome unsafe and unsavory living conditions. I had done the hard road of life. I did not want to travel that road again. But more than anything else, I was afraid that a lion or a terrorist would kill me. As silly as all that sounds now, at the time it was a very real fear. Fear that gripped me to the core. Fear that I was headed toward my doom. So being the skilled debater that I am, I began arguing with God about going. And I questioned his judgment. It's okay. He knows I'm an Aries. We do that kind of stuff. So I asked him, "Are you sure you have the right Johnson? Don't you know I'm not equipped for this kind of job? Who am I to go on an important job like that? Besides, I cuss. You've heard me. I drink, I dance. They're going to be Baptists in this group, and that's not going to work. Don't you realize, God, that trying to make a missioner out of me is the proverbial equivalent of making a silk purse out of a sow's ear? You got a weird sense of humor, God. But for every argument, there was that earworm song reminding me where streams of living waters flow. So as I entered into this true spiritual struggle, as I threw up barricades, God removed every single barrier, straightened every kink, moved aside every boulder. He dogged me with that song, like a horse and rider do the small steer when calf roping in a rodeo. At the end of 2 weeks, I was exhausted. But God had worked up quite a sweat too, because I'm not an easy one to deal with. But I had no idea why he was calling me to Kenya. And while I could think of 50 reasons not to go, there were 4 really good ones to go. The first was the fulcrum of Christ to balance me. Then there was the fountain of life that is Christ to wash away the fears and anxieties. There was also the prospect of fishing, and I love fishing. I was just going to fish for a different kind of fish. As the saying goes, you catch 'em, God will clean 'em. So, here we are. And it dawned on me, if Moses couldn't win his argument about going to Egypt to free the Israelites, I certainly wasn't going to win. So it all boiled down to simple faith. Did I trust God in this plan? He had done much for me, and it was time for me to do something for him. So I decided to just cowboy up and go to Nairobi, where I shared the gospel of living water and ransomed souls.